Yo, this is the Scarcity Studios YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. And our sponsors are Alpha Claims and Hire Birmingham, the leading and best accident management company. Get a replacement car anywhere in 1 hour. This story is a follow-up to a story that I did about a cannabis factory fire in Brierley Hill. The original story was on the 4th of June, and this is also a new story where they found approximately £600,000 worth of cannabis plants in a Lloyds Bank in Brierley Hill on the high street, just on the high street. This was on the 10th of June. So before we get into the new story, we'll talk about the update to the last one. Detectives investigating a fatal fire in Brierley Hill have named the victim as Margaritis Xhindi. He's Albanian and he's 43 years old. The police believe he was locked in the unit on the Premier Trading Estate in Leys Road in Dudley when it set fire and he burnt alive at 7:30 on the 4th of June. Two men were pulled from the blaze. Mr. Xhindi was found the following day on June the 5th, and another man aged in his 20s was taken to hospital but later discharged. His family was told about his death and paid tribute to him and said he was a loving son, brother and wonderful father of 3 children. He'd been working hard most of his life to provide for his family, they said, and they were devastated to hear the news. They believe both men were trafficked to the UK from abroad and were effectively being held against their will. The unit used to grow cannabis on an industrial scale was locked, meaning these men had no way to escape the fire, which tragically led to his death. They are continuing to work closely with the fire service to establish what happened and also to try to find anyone responsible for the death. And this is the second in a spate of cannabis-related deaths in the Dudley area, where 2 men lost their lives when a robbery went wrong. There's also been other incidences of this, and it shows that the non-regulation and the fact that cannabis is illegal in Britain, it's creating and fueling a lot of organised crime, and sometimes results in people losing their lives because they're not doing these setups properly. In the cannabis factory that's been found on the 10th of June on the high street in Brierley Hill in the Lloyds Bank is a very sophisticated one. We haven't got footage of the inside of the other one because it was all burnt out, but this one shows you the type of levels that people are going to, the amount of money this will cost, thousands of pounds in inventing and equipment and different things to be able to ensure that this actually goes off well. They estimated £600,000 worth. They've found more than 600 plants. Their approximations are usually inflated because it sounds good for the statistics. It's still a lot of cannabis, but it probably isn't that much. A total of 677 plants were found covering 2 floors of the property. Footage of the farm was shared online and it shows a room filled with cannabis plants. 2 men were arrested in connection with the find but later released. The police spokesman said they conducted a planned drugs warrant search at a former Lloyds Bank on Brierley Hill High Street where more than 600 plants were found. 2 men aged 23 and 25 were arrested and later released while ongoing inquiries, because nobody gets locked up for growing some cannabis. This is the thing, is that the outcome and the money can be invested in serious crime, but initially it is just growing cannabis. So the effect and the punishment for the police, it's not massive. Some people can get as little as a fine and several months in prison, if at all, incarceration. And this is something that my friend at Dank of England, rest in peace, Black the Ripper was the CEO, was actually highlighting recently with the story that I did on the death, was about regulation, that the Britain needs regulation the same way that America's got regulation, and this will actually counteract all of these sort of things. And I'll be definitely doing an interview with him soon about that, so it'd be interesting to hear, because like I said, with the economy collapsing and different businesses suffering, how on earth is a Lloyds Bank being used to grow cannabis? There was another story back in 2019 where they found £3 million in a former gala bingo hall in Northampton. They found 2,000 plants. Now this is industrial. This is a phenomenal setup here. This would have cost so much money just to have set up. The initial capital would have been ridiculous.
Today we've executed a Misuse of Drugs Act warrant at the former gala bingo hall in High Street, Kettering. That arose as a result of lots of close working with our council partners, the warden team at Kettering Borough Council, information from members of the public and just good basic police work by our intelligence department and the local neighbourhood policing team. We executed the warrant at 10:40 hours this morning, and The whole of the sort of Gala Bingo hall and main building is just full of thousands of plants, as you can see across my shoulder here, that it can't be used again. One of Northampton Police's priorities are to target serious and organised crime, and certainly here we've got a good example of that.
They said it could approximately generate £2.8 million of cannabis a year, and it was on a high street in Kettering in an old derelict Mecca Bingo. So it goes to show, how are these buildings collapsing? How are these businesses falling apart? And then the next thing that gets put in them is a big cannabis factory. So there seems to be an economical coincidence that seems to be happening here. And it'd be interesting to have this conversation. Of course, any videos to do with cannabis sensitive issues will not be monetized by YouTube. So please feel free to join Scarcity as your way of showing support for as little as $1.99 a month. So I really appreciate you joining me today. I'll be back again very soon with some more news as well. Don't forget to follow us online at Scarcity Studios. Peace.